Hi, I've got Billy with me from Snake Venom V or 5, whichever one you want to call it. Hi, thank you, Billy, for coming.
Hello, Joanne. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to
Yeah,
meet you.
thank you. And to anybody who's watched and followed me from my first interviews, Billy was somebody that agreed to do an interview a couple of months ago, and we just had to book ahead. And I was so excited, and I wanted to tell you all, but he was an early supporter, so thank you because of I was super small.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. I mean,
I'm small myself. Don't worry.
I'm still a small channel, but it's so nice when other creators are just open minded and give you a word of
Absolutely.
encouragement. Yeah. Oh, now I had a plan for this.
Okay.
I thought I'm going to watch multiple different videos of yours, but the trouble
Oh,
is they were all so different.
yeah.
And also there was a couple there, Jujutsu Kaisen,
Oh, Jujutsu
right?
Kaisen.
And
Yes.
then I saw something about anime. Is that
Mm-hmm.
openings? Right. So I ended up holding off on those because I thought, oh no, I want to see them first myself and see whether my reaction matches yours. So in the end, I kind of stuck with Old Faithful Ren and the High Ren video, which you've
Perfectly
got
fine.
91,000 views on at the moment. And what I thought was so perfect on the thumbnail, you've put like, holy shit,
Mm-hmm.
and then you say, "Oh, thank you for my 100 subscribers." And I just thought how appropriate that is. You had no idea what was coming your way.
I had no idea. That's a perfect way to put it.
Both with the song Red and then the fans, I'm guessing. I mean,
Yes.
you must have just been hit by it. So tell me how did I know how you find Ren, but tell us again how you found Ren and then what happened.
So the way I discovered Ren himself was through one singular comment,
Mm,
and it was on an NF reaction that I did. I'm not sure if
yeah.
you've heard of him, the rapper NF. Somebody I asked for suggestions at the end of the video, and in the comments I received a few, but there was one specifically that confused me, and that was the suggestion for Hi Ren
Yeah.
because all the comments said was Ren. Hi Ren. There was no hyphen, nothing. And I was like, well, they're not saying hi to me, so is there somebody I'm missing in the comments? Completely confused on a whim, I just
Yeah.
searched it up and it came up right away. So I
Yeah.
was like, they're suggesting a song that I've
All
never
right.
heard of. And that began the chain reaction of events.
Yeah, yeah. But you held
Reaction.
off. You held off and said, okay, there's so many million views. I think I've got to turn the camera on. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, this has got to be something special because
Yeah.
I live under a rock personally.
Yeah.
There's so many things that I don't know that are going on around me,
Yeah.
but I try to stay privy to. And Ren was one of those ones that I'm forever grateful and indebted to that person who
Yeah.
suggested it. Just one person.
I
So
think it was a
whoever that
Nicholas
was,
or something. Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Carry on. Yeah.
But yes, High Ren. Once I started to react to that, it blew me away. I was completely enamored, and it was something I didn't expect because on a rapper's reaction, I was expecting like, okay, this is just gonna be another rap song or something.
Yeah.
No, Ren is something different, a completely different animal, and it's enthralling to me to see not only High Ren but where he's gone since then.
Yeah.
And in discovering High Ren and it dealing with mental health and the battle of his inner struggles, and the fact that he was able to not only capture me with his voice instantaneous, like I was not expecting singing or that voice to come out of that man, but
Yeah.
by God was I blown away in that moment. I was like,
Yeah.
he, oh my God, what am I witnessing?
Yeah.
And then he just goes off, and it's he's battling back and forth with himself. He's riffing, and there's no one else on the camera but him,
Yeah.
and it's just like amazed me how he could capture me with his voice,
Mm.
capture me with the things he was saying, and then capture me with his performance. Like I believed every single thing he was saying in that moment because of
Hmm.
the way he's able to communicate things with his face and his demonstration of different emotions as he is getting those words out.
Yeah. Okay. So you're blown away. You know that there's something special. You know that there's so many million views.
Yeah.
But you also know, and you're celebrating in the video, hey, I've got 100 subscribers. So, so what are you expecting next?
I didn't expect anything, honestly.
I've had this experience. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't have it. I don't have as many views as you do on smaller videos that I've done, but I was found by the Ren fans, and then you wake up to 250 comments, and you're like, pardon? Yeah, like what? Like good comments, like really detailed
Absolutely.
comments as well. Yeah.
Oh, oh, you froze.
Oh,
Oh,
am I back?
what happened? Am I froze?
It's still recording from my end, so let's see.
Hello?
Hello, I can hear you.
There we
Yep,
are.
give
There
me
we
the
are.
video.
Okay, you're back. You were
Okay.
froze on the screen for a second.
Okay. We'll see what happens in the edit. Right. Okay.
That's all right.
Yeah. 100 subscribers. What are you
Yes.
expecting?
Okay, so at 100 subscribers, absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect anything really out of the video because, I understand that NF is he's mega popular.
Yeah.
And he's world known. So I didn't really, I never have an intention of when I pick somebody to react to that I'm trying to sort of gain anything from that other than the experience.
Right.
I'm not really looking to just gain massive amounts of subscribers or, oh, this person's popular, maybe I can get some of that popularity. That was never really my intention or goal with anything like that. I just want to experience the art itself and find the reason that someone felt the need to suggest this individual to me. And that is what I gained out of that experience, more so than really the numbers.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a way of looking at it in the analytical perspective, like, wow, this blew me away, and then the comments keep coming, and the views keep going up, and you're kind of like, you're taken aback by it.
Yeah.
Like, I've never experienced anything like this, because being at 100 subscribers, I'm barely getting any views on anything that I do.
Yeah.
But there was something about Ren and his following, the Renegades, his fan base are just absolutely loving of who they support.
Yeah.
And they're loving and receptive of those who also are welcoming to Ren's art. And that is something I could never anticipate. But it's been a great deal of beauty. It really has been a beautiful thing to find and interact with the fans, and I love that. And they've accepted me with open arms, and I return it right back.
Yeah. It's so interesting. What I noticed in the comments is that you actually feel like you're having a conversation with people and know them. More so, I mean, I do get some comments, like a heart or this is great. And that's nice that somebody's taking the time to do it. But the longer comments where they're saying you need to check this out and this impacted me this way. And you do feel like you know some of them.
Yeah. Yeah, and they are completely open with a lot of things. And it's just like you said, you'll receive a heart. So, yes, that they loved it. That's fantastic. That makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And, it's the little things that go a long way. But when you start seeing conversations start and you realize there's a comfortability that they have with the person on the other side of the camera. Because I don't personally know any of these people, but they feel comfortable enough to me that they would want to open up or share their story on how they discovered Ren or what this song in particular means to them.
Yeah.
And I can't thank them enough for feeling comfortable enough with me. And, we're not on a first name basis or anything, but if I see their name pop up on their screen, I'll try to address them as that. That way there's even more of a familiarity.
Yeah. So, what was I going to say? Next, after you've done Hi Ren, I ended up, I didn't do a reaction. I just happened to mention that I watch reaction videos. So I wasn't even doing a reaction. I felt quite a lot of pressure and the expectation of what to do next. So that was going to be my next question.
Okay. That's a big one. So in terms of pressure, I feel like in life, we feel pressured to do a lot of things. Like there's kind of this race against the clock, right? And then you turn on the camera and you're like, what am I going to do now? this video kind of blew up overnight, right?
Yeah.
And where do I go from here? You kind of put the pressure on yourself
Oh
almost.
yeah, yeah.
Because yes, the fans are clamoring for more, but it's how you respond to that, which is the important thing. Because you're already facing the pressures of everyday life when the camera's off and trying to navigate through that. But when you turn the camera on, you want to try to capture that success again. You know,
Yeah.
you're like, I've done something great,
Yeah.
and they told me so. It's not
Yeah.
that I knew it was great. I just was going about how I do my reactions.
Yeah.
And then they start telling you, wow, this is fantastic. And you're like, okay, I did something really right here.
Yeah.
And how do I continue that?
Yeah.
So you start to kind of get in your own head a little bit. And you're like, man, I don't want to let them down. And it's like, they're new here. But
Yeah.
I still have this thought process of I don't want to let the fans down.
Okay.
And you're trying to navigate then. So there's the outside pressure of off camera, but then when you step on camera, even though it is a release, you know, like I feel comfortable when I'm here with everyone.
Yeah.
And they make me feel good. Better than I feel about myself most days, you know?
Okay.
So it is a lot of pressure, even in terms of things that I do outside of just reacting. It's like, how am I putting this video out to everybody? You know, how am I describing these things? Because am I using the right words? And I tried not to worry about that. I tried to let the thoughts come naturally and just express it as best as I could, and how I receive the things. I try to respond with the thoughts in my head, and that really helps release the pressure. So it became less about, well, I had so many views on this one, can I get that on this one? It stopped being about that.
I think it's also to, like, will you double down on Ren, or will you continue to keep doing the people that you just genuinely want to see their material? And I say I took a break. I was a bit swamped by the whole thing. I took a couple of days and I actually made a video and said, I'm not sure quite how to handle this. I know what the experts say. They say, do more, do a follow-up and go more into, and it's like, that feels a little cringy. Like, I needed to be sure it was coming from a place that I wanted to do it. Like you say, that internal conversation.
Yeah, and you're 100% spot on with that, of feeling, do I do another Ren reaction right away just to kind of keep the hot streak going? Or do I do something else that's interesting me right now? And I believe it's fine to do either.
Yeah.
You know, it's whatever you decide at the end of the day, because whatever makes you happy is what matters most. And as much as the comments do dictate sort of how the engagement will continue, it's what matters right here. What are you feeling that day? And that's something I had to learn, because, you know, I've always like had this mindset of wanting to please. I want to make everybody else happy before I make myself happy. But at the end of the day, when you go to sleep at night, it's you in here. Nobody else. You kind of shut off the outside noise. So, as I'm sure you've seen maybe the playlist of Ren that I have probably close to 100 videos just on Ren alone. And that ties in with his band, his friends, other artists that he's connected with. You know, it opens this big world. So even if you're not necessarily doing a Ren video, he does have a lot of talent around him. And that's something that I've had so much fun discovering as well. And the pressure of sticking with a particular artist is something that has been really tough, because while I really dove into the Ren rabbit hole head first, and it was because not just the comments, but because I was so enthralled with like how amazing he was to me. And that hadn't happened to me for a long time with an artist. It's really tough to discover them these days, you know? Like, there was a plethora of them back in the day. But now, when you find them, you just really got to hold on. You're like, there's more to this person, and I want to know all about it. So, whenever I deviate from a certain artist, I'll receive a lot of comments on following videos that I put out that aren't on that artist. And they'll say, "Where's the video for this? Where's the video for the why have you stopped listening to them, or why have you stopped watching them?" And it's not that I stopped ever listening to Ren. Ren, ever since I discovered him and really went on my journey with him, he's in my top 5 favorite artists ever at this point. You know, and I have only spent close to 2 years with him, you know, so it happened very fast. And I didn't want to just run out of steam where it's like another Ren reaction, because I did do Ren videos several days a week.
Yeah.
And I still listen to Ren off camera. You know, I am as much of a fan as I say I am on camera. I really mean that when I step off camera, because I still listen to him. And I know that's not necessarily the same for every YouTuber out there, because there's a lot of playing up for the camera if they know that the views are going to come with it. But that's not the same with me. Like, if I say I really enjoy a song or a musician, I mean that. So the fans might not necessarily understand that if I'm not putting out a video to them. And I understand. You know, you can't believe if you don't see it necessarily.
Yeah.
They say seeing is believing. But that's perfectly fine. It's a little disheartening when you try to step outside of a box and they want to put you right back into it. Because you're always wondering, well, if they receive this very well, are they going to receive something that's a little bit different the same way? And that's not always the case, which is perfectly fine, because at the end of the day, everybody decides what they want.
Yeah.
But as I've learned, if they are really a fan of yours as well as the artist, they will continue to support you no matter what. And I have seen those individuals, the renegades, going into my other videos and still thanking me and telling me how good of a job I'm doing. And I'm very appreciative of that.
Yeah, I think that kind of links back to, I haven't really stopped to ask you why you started the channel or anything like that, but did you have an intention of, I'm building a reaction channel, or were you just, I'm going to make some videos? What happened?
That's a very good question. Now, it all started really, I would say about 6 years ago, I discovered reaction videos. And I was just in my house one day and scrolling on YouTube, and a new Eminem album came out. I'm a big Eminem fan. So I noticed there was a reaction video to it. And I'm like, well, this is interesting. I've never seen these before. And then I was like, wow, I really do enjoying... Like, I enjoy seeing how other people respond to the art that I perceive a certain way. And that sort of became a little addiction. You know, I got really interested in other people's mindsets when it comes to dissecting the art. And I've always sort of been that way, but reaction videos was a different format for me. I never saw somebody turn on the camera and just do that and then really have an audience to engage with. So I was like, well, that would be interesting. And I did not pursue it at the time. You know, like there was certain other channels like No Life Shack. He's hilarious and probably the biggest reactor, I believe, in the world. And I really connected with him, you know, going in and just absorbing any sort of art. So there's other channels as well. But down the line, I had, you know, a computer set up and I had a camera. I was like, well, what if I just give my thoughts one day? You know, let's see how that goes. I never really had a preconceived notion of that it would become like it is. I just really love talking to people and engaging in conversation. And this has allowed me to do that. Not necessarily ever thinking, well, reaction videos would be the way I would go with that. But I knew that that was a way of connecting with someone because music really connects us all.
Yeah.
And there's so many forms of it and so many ways to not only hear it, but then try to explain the feelings that you have when you receive that music.
Yeah. I mean, you did such a great job. My background is that I was very shy and then I struggled to speak up. And then I got interested in these reactor videos. And so when I see somebody watch something like that, process it, and then give language to it, I was just like, how does he do that? I mean, have you done drama at school? Have you done speech? How did you get comfortable like that on camera? And quick as well, to put it into words.
Yeah. So I never did any sort of drama in school or anything. I was always intrigued by plays and demonstrative art, but never really had any sort of field of expertise that I joined in on.
Hmm.
As you said, you being shy myself as well.
Yeah.
I know it doesn't seem like that on camera, but I am typically a shy person, and this has really helped open me up more.
Yeah.
And in school we did have speech class where it really helped us. We had to give speeches in front of the class, and then we have to
Yeah.
give speeches in front of the whole school. And for a shy person, it's very hard to do, but I just tried to do the best I could. And at the
Hmm.
end of the day, when I turn on the camera, that's all I try to do is the best I can. So when it came in terms of really giving my thoughts, I've never been one to really hold back my thoughts if I see things a certain way. And a lot of people don't like that,
Okay.
but I am polite in terms
Yeah.
of how I respond to things. I don't want to feel as if I'm trying to tear down anything. I just try to look at everything from an outside perspective, or if I can connect with it in a certain way, I'll know that it strikes a chord with me. And I'm sure if you've seen that in some of the videos, like there's something that really hits me,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and then it like like I have some sort of connection. And that's one of the beautiful things about Ren is I feel like a lot of the things that he's talked about I've felt at certain points in my life. So it really just like it brings me back to those moments in time where I felt it. And I think that's what helps me get it so quick, is because even though me and Ren totally different life paths, we've shared similar experiences
Hmm.
throughout life. And that is really what helps it come so quick, is not because I need to think of it in my head, it's that it's just already there. And I just relive it in that moment. So I try to get it across the camera to the viewers as best I can with the best words that I could possibly find
Yeah.
at the moment.
I was just so impressed by that. Also, I noticed in terms of your style of doing it for that particular video, you were pausing and going back. But when
Yeah.
I've had a go at reaction videos, I'm a deer in a headlight. I'm like, I don't actually react. It's, I don't know. And then I'm also, especially for these which are so intense, is that there's so much information coming at you. I feel I haven't processed it and I can't
Yes.
communicate. And you were pausing it and going back and you were giving different comments on it and you were still doing all the emotion and the expression. But I was like, how does he know that that's what's going on? I had to watch the song and then watch several reaction videos before I could give language to what was going on for me. But you managed to. I was just trying to think, what did I put here? I was just saying that you just noticed and processed it way before me. Um, I'm just trying to think what I put here. Oh yeah, because also I was noticing that you said, "Oh, he's doing a great job of explaining those voices in his head," and then you went, "Holy cow!" But even just to say that was
Hmm.
was communicating. It's not just that you're expressing something with your face; you're actually saying,
Yeah.
"Oh," and I think that's a skill. I don't know whether you see it as a skill. By the way, you're talking. I think it's a skill that this is what's happening in my head. I'm not going to censor it. I'm going to go with the flow of that.
That's the important thing, is going with the flow and not censoring it. Because I feel like there's times I've seen other reaction videos where perhaps a certain subject gets brought up
Yeah.
and people shy away from it a little bit because they're not sure how the audience will receive it if they speak on it.
Hmm.
But I believe that when you get off camera, you're still left with those thoughts.
Yeah.
And you never really released that because you never got to talk it out.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big things that I love to do in life is have discussion. And you might be wrong. That's completely fine. And that's all
Hmm.
part of life, is just learning. But if you're open with your thoughts on things and let it flow out naturally, it will really help you sleep at the end of the day, because you don't want it bottled up. You got to
Yeah.
have that flow into the release. And that's something that I try to do when I'm receiving the art, is I want to be open to everything. So when I sit down and I pull up the video, I turn the camera on and I just have a go at it, I
Hmm.
really try to have all of my senses open to everything.
Yeah.
And it really gives a clarity to your mind in the moment. It shuts off everything. Noise canceling headphones helps a little bit too. But it really helps you focus in that moment. Like, all right, where is he going with this? And with Ren, you never know. But I try to take my best guess. And sometimes
Yeah.
I'm correct, sometimes I'm way off base.
Hmm.
But being receptive in the moment really helps you get a grasp and a hold in yourself as well as in the art, because it's like, wow, how did this make me feel? And immediately, if it comes into my head, I try to speak it. Some people don't like the pausing, but the pausing really helps process as
Yeah.
well. Because if I have something pop into my head, I don't want to really like hold on to that for too long, because
Yeah.
Ren is giving you so much
Mm.
information. Even if he's just harmonizing, or if he says one other thing, suddenly it's like, oh, what was I thinking a second ago?
Yeah.
I'm blown away now. I don't know what to
Yeah.
say. So I try to get it out as best as possible, as quick as possible.
Yeah.
And then if I feel I missed something when I pause, I'll go back a couple steps
Yeah.
and then re-receive what perhaps might come differently now. So I will speak on something, and then if I miss a few lyrics,
Yeah.
I'll be like, oh, I didn't hear that the first time. And then I'll see the way he's layering things, or
Hmm.
maybe he changed an end rhyme to a beginning rhyme. And then I'm like, wow, he actually crafted this even harder than I necessarily thought.
Okay.
So it's just trying to get it all out in the moment rather than holding on to it and regretting that later.
Right. Okay. I'm feeling like I'm missing something about your background that
Okay.
makes all this make sense. So, did you go to university or have you studied music or where have you come from? Where have you come from?
Um. So, I never did any sort of music in school other than the generic music
Yeah.
classes that were allowed. I never did choir or anything. Never had any real music teachers teach me any of like understanding of music. It's something that I've gradually learned because of my interest. And that's something that, while speaking in terms of art, I'm very art minded.
Yeah.
So I would say the reason that all of this started is because of Eminem.
Okay.
And it sounds like an odd answer, but especially if we're talking about Slim Shady days, right? But it's nothing that crazy.
Yeah.
So I noticed in his music, because he's one of the artists that I listened to a lot growing up, but as he aged, he was really trying to put more into his music rather than just sounding funny or saying
Yeah.
something outrageous. Like it's real flashy and it captures your attention. But that's the way of looking at things in the past, and that still
Hmm.
works these days, because if you have a 5-second video and something crazy happens, people can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
But that's not the way I work. My way of looking at it is seeing him grow as an artist and the way he layers his music. Like, he could say one word and it will have 16 different meanings.
Hmm.
And we don't know that necessarily unless we hear the song several
Yeah.
times. So I used to have to do that with his music. I used to have to go back and listen. And there's songs that I didn't hear of his, or I'll say I didn't understand necessarily at the time. I would think
Hmm.
of it one or two ways, but then I'll listen to it several years later. And this is how you know there's a creative genius at work when it
Yeah.
comes to that. Because you could listen to something a lot of times and it'd be your favorite song, but then maybe take a break from it, step away from the art,
Hmm.
come back and revisit that song 5 years later with a different set of ears,
Hmm.
and you start to hear things a different way. And you're like, wow, I never knew he meant it that way. It just opened a different light to me.
Yeah.
And so, in understanding that he was working on art that way, I started checking out different artists who also do
Okay.
similar things.
So
And then that,
completely. Sorry, I'm just interrupted. Sorry.
you're fine.
Completely private. You're not doing
You got
anything.
it.
Yeah. You're just saying, I'm off on
Studying.
a path. I'm off on a path.
Nope. And since I learned that on my own,
Yeah.
because school never taught me that,
Yeah.
there was never a subject offering of lyrical studying or a thought process in terms of that. Um, I went on my own, such as I do with a lot of maybe art techniques in terms of painting or drawing.
Okay.
And I just sort of sit down, isolation a little bit, and then I study. I listen, I learn. And throughout the years of doing that with him, that really helped me with my reactions and lyrical dissection and trying to have a human study of individuals. So
Yeah.
that is where my learning in the background comes from, is really just listening and learning from that music.
Yeah, it's so interesting though, because the more interviews that I do, especially interviewing some of the fans that have started creating and very early in their journey, all of them have the same story of, oh, I was interested in this, so I went and studied it myself. I taught myself this and I taught myself
Yep.
that. And I was like, wow, of one thread that goes through everybody, it seems
Yeah,
to be this self motivation of, I want to go deeper on this. I want to
exactly.
study about this. Yeah.
Yeah, and I believe that they say knowledge is power.
Hmm.
And the more that we have a deeper understanding of things, the better we will become as people. And it's being open to learning that is the big thing. Because if you're closed off to everything, then you're sort of in your own little bubble and very fragile in a sense. Because when one thing comes along, you might be completely blown away and it might just wreck your world.
Yeah.
But it's being open and receptive and understanding of anything.
Hmm.
Not just a song, but it could be human nature. It could be a decision that someone made, trying to really gather an understanding of why these things happen.
Hmm.
And life is a never ending journey of learning.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting you use the word open as well. I was just listening to a video today about the personality trait of openness. Is
Okay.
is that something, do you listen to those kind of conversations? I don't know.
I have heard
Yeah.
the subjects discussed before, and it's sort of like it's something I never really studied,
Okay.
but it just kind of came naturally. Honestly,
Hmm.
I never was really taught about an openness to things,
Hmm.
other than my parents. You know, like just being open to learning. They're like, well, here's this, and here's why you don't understand this. You know, so a
Okay.
little bit of teaching from that. But in terms of researching, I have heard the subjects discussed, and then it falls in line. I'm like, wow, I kind of already think along the same wavelengths of
Yeah.
that. And then hearing them discuss it is really refreshing.
Yeah, I heard something today, and I have to write the words down because I'm a bit of a word nerd. And they were
Okay.
saying how openness is correlated with creativity. I was like, okay,
Absolutely.
I can understand that. But then they were saying about people who have this openness, high in openness as a trait. They they have to. It's like a need that they must. But they were talking about consuming. They didn't use the word consume. They said must watch the movies, must listen to interesting music, must go watch the art. And it was
Must.
like, but it's a must. And I thought, well,
Yeah.
that sounds like the fans because they're not
Yep.
fans. There's something super fan about them. Like
Super.
I'm really, I'm really pulled towards this. But then he was started talking about creativity in terms of producing. And because
Okay.
I'm just really interested in the idea that these fans are maybe open and creative and they're excited about consuming, but I'm wondering if really, I suppose I'm pushing them. My own agenda. Like, I think you are creators too. So,
I agree,
yeah.
100%. And actually, these necklaces are a testament to that.
Okay.
These were actually created by a fellow renegade, one of
Oh,
Ren's
okay.
fans, and
Yeah.
they sent them to me recently. It's actually, they made these themselves, very crafty. This is actually
Yeah.
Ren's face, and
Yeah.
then one of his designs for Freckled Angels.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite songs. It's really special that they sent me that one in particular, is because Ren's song "Freckled Angels" is one of the songs that touched me in a way I never expected, because my mom, being a ginger and having freckles and
Okay.
redheaded, um, I love her dearly. She passed away when I was very young
Oh,
from
gosh.
cancer.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry.
So when I heard Ren speaking about his best friend and being a freckled angel because of his freckles, much like my mom
Mm.
passing away, I broke down when I listened to that, and it absolutely connected with me. So the Freckled Angels necklace in particular was very warming to my heart when I received that. And then this one here has Ren's Sick Boy logo. I know there's a bit of a reflection there, but yeah, they sent them to me. And speaking on the creativity, while they are receiving his art, the individuals who are receptive of his art are super talented as well. They're very smart. They're very crafty. They are artists themselves. And being in his community and seeing them all divulge these things that really bring them joy, not just the music, but in their creative process, and this included, it has been so refreshing. Because you're opening up yourself to this community and you're not really sure what to expect. You're like, wow, these are rabid super fans, and it could be misconceived.
It's a cult. It's a coffee club. What's that? Book club. Book club.
The book club leader. Huh? What? Where? Cult? No.
That's what I saw in the comments. That's why I'm joking about it. I'm not calling you a cult. Right. This is what they said in the comments.
They've said the same thing to me because I referred to it as a cult. And ironically enough, Ren does have a cult leader shirt. I'm just saying.
He's playing.
Very intelligent individuals. And seeing them be as passionate about their art as they are Ren's art is a beautiful thing. And I, received some of it, and that's when I was blown away, because I never expected to receive anything from my fans or anybody in general. I never asked for gifts on Christmas. I never asked for anything on my birthday. I just, spending time with people is what I value most. And someone messaged me on a whim, and they asked, hey, do you have somewhere I can send a piece of art to you? And I was like, certainly. I received it. And I'm blown away. I'm forever grateful that they thought of me as someone they wanted to send this to, because apparently they had sent them to Ren's team and at the headquarters as well, and Ren himself. So knowing that I'm an individual they consider in that aspect is amazing to me. And even with the Jujutsu Kaisen reactions you mentioned, there's a fan of that anime. And they did the same thing. They saw how blown away I was when I was watching an episode of that show. And how much I loved the piece of art that I paused on.
Okay.
And they took it upon themselves in that moment to have something made for me of that moment in the show and send it to me. And I just, it blew my mind how thoughtful people can be. In terms of just wanting to send things to people they don't know, but they connect with. And that is beautiful.
There's something, I wasn't expecting this with the video. I knew I was nervous, and I knew that video was a big thing, and I kind of imagined that it's only going to get bigger. And so I thought, okay, it's going to be useful. I'm going to suck for a while, but it's going to be useful if I can learn that skill. But in the meantime, I'd been writing and I'd been drawing cartoons and different things like that. But video is another game in terms of the skill, but also the connection and how people relate to you. And I completely underestimated that.
Yep. You're not sure what the undertaking is going to be when you turn that camera on the front. You can never anticipate that. But I will say, in terms of thinking that you suck, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. As much as people tell me like I'm doing a fantastic job, it's kind of that thought that you have, that little whisper in your ear. Sometimes you're like, wow, this isn't good. This is going bad. But you got to trust the process and just hope that in the end, what you did speaks from the heart and it really clears your head. Because even in the moment, sometimes I'm like, wow, why did I say that? Why did I say that? How's that going to be received? You have to clear the voices out.
I'm really curious. So even though you're saying things, do you occasionally sort of jump out and watch yourself and go, oh, why did I do that?
I have a hard time watching myself.
No, but I mean in that moment, because when you're in the moment and in the flow, that's fine. But sometimes there's a part of me that separates and overthinks it. And it's like, no, get back in there, Joe. Just,
Yes, zeroing in is the big thing. Because I will get so absorbed in the moment, and then I'm releasing all of these thoughts. and
Yeah.
I'm going in many directions because I'm really trying to let them know what I am processing
Yeah.
this information as.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, I forgot to say this, or oh, maybe I talked too much there.
Oh,
I tend to talk a lot. I'm sorry, but it just means a lot that I get this out to you.
yeah. I'm so
And
pleased you're saying this.
yes, so it's like I'm having these thoughts in the moment
Yeah.
of things that I really want to say, but then you kind of question yourself, and you're like, oh, maybe I talk too much. Maybe they're not gonna like that. But it's the release and knowing that it's all out.
Yeah.
That is the comforting part. So when I go back and look, I'm like, did I miss anything? So I'll
Hmm.
try to watch back and I'm like, no, I hit everything. And sometimes maybe even more than I had like ever thought I would hit, you
Yeah.
know? Like because they'll tell me, they'll be like, wow, I've never really heard anybody speak on this the way
Yeah.
that you did. And that means a lot to me because sometimes I feel like I'm talking too much. But
Yeah.
if you think that, then sometimes there's so many things left unsaid.
Hmm.
And then there will come that time where maybe a person in the comments thought about something a certain way. And they're like,
Hmm.
wow, I've never seen anybody yet in any of these reaction videos mention this.
Yeah.
But when you know you're that one individual
Hmm.
that did say that, that's the connection.
Yeah. I think you mentioned about the high Ren. You said, "Oh, they're just in one room," and you
Yeah.
analysed that, and I hadn't heard that anywhere else about
Yeah.
just being in one head and different things. So I
Yeah.
really like that.
That is another thing because I try to look at the use of cinematography and
Yeah.
how they're capturing these moments. Why are they choosing a particular camera angle? Why
Hmm.
did they zoom in here? Why did they zoom out? You know, there's all these little tidbits, and I do that while I'm watching like Jujutsu Kaisen, and you know that's demonstrating things with animation though, right?
Yeah.
So you think, well, the creator was mindful enough to place this piece here for a particular reason.
Hmm.
And even in one of the recent episodes I watched, there was this one particular sign, and it was a "Do not run" sign.
Okay.
And they continuously showed that sign from the
Okay.
beginning of the episode, in the middle, and then at the end. And I feel like even though that is right in your face, there's a
Yeah.
lot of people who never look at it that way.
Did you say
So,
that? Is that from Jujutsu Kaisen?
yes, the most recent episode that I watched. I talk
And
about
then
it in the video, yeah.
is he now? You say this is anime. My
Yes.
daughter's into anime. Is he
Okay.
the one? I saw something about a particular creator. I don't know whether they called him a creator or director, but they were
Okay.
saying things about slowing it down. Is he the one that they talk about slowing it down?
Slowing
And
it down.
I haven't seen much anime, but there was a girl on a train, and they were showing this journey on a train, and it's like really slowing down and
Oh.
taking the time and silence in that journey. But apparently, he's
No.
really famous as a director or something. But this,
I'm not
that's
sure if
right.
that's an anime movie or a
Okay.
show. I have not seen that myself, but I'm
Yeah.
very interested. So if you do find out the name of that, do share.
That's why I didn't watch your reaction video. I was like, no, no, no,
Yeah.
I want to go that way myself. I want to explore.
Yes.
So,
Jujutsu Kaisen is the world of curses, and these curses are developed through the fear that is in human nature.
okay.
So there's a deeper level of thought when it comes to creating certain characters in this show.
Hmm.
And then there's the jujutsu sorcerers who are essentially trying to protect the population from these curses who want to destroy it.
Okay.
But curses themselves are not really created in a lab or anything. They're created by the fear, this natural innate fear that
Hmm.
humans have for, say, nature, or they have an arachnophobia.
Hmm.
Anything that humans fear will spawn these curses.
Okay.
And then it's exercising those curses. But in this episode that I'm speaking about in particular is the use of surroundings.
Okay.
And the placement of these objects is what I
Yeah.
really keyed in on. I'm like, wow, they zoomed in on this sign for a particular reason.
Yeah.
And slowing down, like you mentioned, the do not run sign.
Yeah.
Perhaps if the individual in the episode had slowed down just a bit, he may not
Yeah.
have had the result he did in the end. And
Yeah.
I think that's really important for a lot of us because we can apply that to our own life.
Hmm.
Sometimes if we don't slow down and really take the time to analyze our surroundings and appreciate where we're at,
Hmm.
then we will never experience true life because we're so goal oriented. We're really focused on getting to the end.
Mm-hmm.
But life is guaranteed to have an end, and you don't want to be there right now.
Yeah. So there you are. I was just sorry. As I was listening to you, then my brain was going in two different directions, and so that kind of stumps me. I'm not very good at doing this.
Oh, you're fine.
No, I mean keeping on track because my brain's going. I'll go back to that point and go forward to this point.
I'm the same way.
But yeah, one of the things that I really wanted to. What fascinates me is the language that you're giving to things. And it's interesting to me that you're attracted to other pieces of art. And it's almost like it's I don't know, there's ideas and feelings that are out there in the world that you can absorb, but
Yes.
somebody's making it more concrete and expressing it more
Yeah.
and making, I don't know, something more deliberate about it.
Yes.
And it seems to be that you're picking up on that. It's like, okay, that's all around me, but this art is highlighting it and making me notice it. And yeah,
You're spot on with that. And a lot of times we kind of have tunnel vision a little bit. You know, we have the
yeah,
blinders on and we don't know things that are happening around us at all moments, and that's perfectly fine.
mm-hmm.
But it's when you zero in on that and you really start to analyze it, you're like, wow, I've
Yeah,
never really thought about it that way or why this was here.
yeah,
But then once you do key in on that, you start to notice it in other portions of life and other portions of art. Because, you know, things just have a blissful way of happening.
yeah,
It's just, it is naturally going to fall into place.
yeah,
And that is a beautiful thing if it does happen that way. But there is a lot of intentional
mm-hmm.
things as well. And that's what I find to be most fascinating is if I
Yeah,
think something is completely intentional because it seemed that way.
yeah,
But
yeah,
then to later learn that no, that just it was one of those beautiful moments that I happened to be there for, and it just it
yeah,
came about. I didn't plan it; it just happened.
yeah. No, I was listening to a song by Nightwish. I don't know whether you've heard
Okay,
any of
I
Nightwish.
believe I've heard that name
and
before.
and I was so confused. I was so confused, and in my head, I was thinking, I'm not understanding what this talk. I'm not understanding the lyrics. I'm not understanding anything. And then just at that moment, she says something about write a lyric that only you understand. And I was like, oh my goodness,
Ooh,
that's so funny. It was almost
wow.
like the part in the song that it came up is she's held the tension, held the tension, held the tension, and just at that moment where you think I can't take it, I don't understand,
Yeah,
she says, "No, it's about it's just for you to understand. You're creating this." I was like, "That's so clever."
that is
So,
that
what,
I really like
yeah,
that. Wow.
yeah, some Elan, or I'm not sure what it
Ellen.
is. I was
Okay.
I It was completely new to me, but some of the reactors that I've interviewed follow those groups, and so I was
Okay.
like, okay, I'll
Yeah.
I'll have a look. And
Yeah. Just hey, check it out.
yeah, yeah. You said when you filled out the form about doing the interview, you mentioned, I said, what would you like to talk about? And you said art, and we've talked about art, so that's interesting.
Yes.
Then you put something else which really caught my attention. You said
Okay.
subject of understanding. What do you mean
Yes.
by that? I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that to me before.
So understanding things, I believe, is very important. And in terms of understanding, I have learned just in life, really, is if you don't understand something, there is an ignorance to it. You know, there is a blissful ignorance, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you really take the time to understand why things happen the way they do or why things work this way, it really creates that understanding in terms of applying that lesson that you absorbed.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had times where I'll try to explain things and I can use all the right words, but
Yeah.
I notice that the individuals are not open to understanding it. They're
Yeah.
completely closed off to the ideas. And that's fine. There's the blissful ignorance.
Yeah.
But understanding, there is an art to understanding in general. And it's being able to open yourself, create this space in your mind, and then have something explained to you or research it yourself and start digging in. And that's sort of how I came about reactions, as we were referencing earlier. When I started studying things on my own, it created that understanding for the musical subject or this form of art or that form. And whenever I see something I don't understand, I want to understand it.
Yeah.
So it's the lessons, really. It's lessons. We
Yeah.
all have lessons that we gain in life, and they all come at different moments. But once you grasp an understanding of something, it really will set you on a course of events that perhaps if you never came to understand why something worked that way, that you would have never known before. And that is what intrigues me the most about life, is
Yeah.
we're not certain where we are going or how we're going to get there, but it's understanding that is the most important thing.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I've been thinking about and writing about what I refer to as misunderstandings, because
Yeah.
I was fascinated with misunderstandings. It's
I
like,
like your doodles, by the way. I was checking some of those out. Yes, they're very
but
cool.
it's like, I was thinking, if I get better at speaking, if I say all the right words, then I'll be understood. And then it's like, no. But
I did see that one.
but it's like, how, because you're saying about the subject of understanding, but you could have equally said the subject of lifelong learning or being open. What made you choose that word?
Because if you learn something, it doesn't necessarily mean that you understand it,
Okay.
but applying what you learned
Oh, okay.
really will demonstrate if you understand it. Because somebody could sit here and talk for hours to me and explain these things to me, but if I'm not open to receiving them at the end of that lesson, I could be like, okay, thank you for teaching me. I learned something. And you may have learned one facet of it, but it's that culmination. After the individual leaves and you're done talking to them, are you able to apply what they said? Did you really understand what they meant by the things that they said? And it's how you go forth from that moment and that lesson that will really demonstrate if you have an understanding. And that is something that really comes with Ren's music. Because Ren, when he explains things or he'll sing or rap about anything, you really see that he has a certain understanding of things. And he will admit himself that even if he doesn't understand something, he still wants to learn about that.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing because he's receptive of those. So that will play into his understanding of that and then applying it in his music.
I heard something, and I didn't save the interview, but they were
Okay.
saying about when you hear something and you learn something, there's, and I think the word begins with an S, but I don't remember what the
Yes.
word was, about everything lining up inside you. And it's almost like that sensation.
Synchronicity?
No, it's almost like a sensation of a lock when
Oh,
click, click. And then it's like, I'm learning it. But then there's an
okay.
actual physical sensation of, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
There's a difference, and I'm wondering whether you feel it physically or do you just sense, oh, there's more to this. I think there's more value in this, and I'm not getting it.
Yeah. I believe it's a little bit of both,
Yeah,
honestly. In terms of those aha
yeah,
moments, you'll see them on camera. Like if I've experienced those, it'll really click.
yeah,
Maybe I'll question something, like a
yeah,
direction he's taking, and I'll be like, wow, I wonder why he's doing that. Even if I'm
yeah,
pausing and speaking about something that's happening, I wonder where he's going to take this.
yeah,
And then it's that aha moment
yeah,
once he gets to that, and you're like, now I know why he set the pre-course
yeah,
that he did.
yeah,
Because he was building up. Just as that individual you spoke about, Nightwish,
yeah,
they were building up to that moment.
yeah,
And that's when it clicks. So it can like explode out of you in a physical
yeah,
sense. You're like, wow, and you could really feel
yeah.
that in the moment, or it could be an internal thing
Okay,
where it's a calm effect
okay.
because you had this anticipation, but then it all came together and you're like, now I get it. Now I understand.
I don't think I've told. because as I say, I'm kind of obsessed about this whole thing about misunderstandings and wanting to be
Yes.
understood and different things. And I've never seen anybody else use that
Yeah.
word. So I thought I have to geek out with you for a little bit.
Oh, it's perfectly fine. I'm completely open to that. And like I said, there's a lot of misunderstanding
Oh
that
yeah,
goes
yeah,
on. And as much as we try to understand things, there is still to this day so many things that are misunderstood. And
yeah,
that can set a chain reaction of events that we don't want and things that are happening right now. Could all stem from one singular misunderstanding.
yeah.
So that is why it is so important and why there is an art to understanding things.
Hmm.
Because if you understand something, it can prevent a lot of things from happening and it can create beautiful things. But misunderstanding could lead to catastrophic things.
I think I'm leaning towards the idea that things can be more complex. Um, not
Absolutely.
complicated, not
They can.
complicated as in, oh, it's hard for you to understand, but complex as in, you pull on this little piece of string and something completely unintended
You're
happen,
right.
and that maybe there's some nuance and maybe there's a little bit of complexity and hearing all these stories and stuff. Anyway, I'm
Yeah.
geeking out again. Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're completely right. Even musically, in the lyrics,
Yeah.
think of it in terms of layering the lyrics. So whereas if they say a phrase one way,
Hmm.
it will have one meaning, but
Hmm.
that is perceptually.
Yeah.
So you might
Context and yeah.
exactly. They might sound like they mean it that way, and they
Hmm.
could. But when you start to dig in and think, oh, well, this line connected 3 lines later, they
Hmm.
set it up with something. So that one phrase could have several meanings.
Yeah.
And that's why I try to explain that when I'm doing lyrical breakdowns of Ren or any artist in general,
Yeah.
is because the artists themselves could say something and only mean it one way. We don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're not in contact with the artist asking them this. It's just the thought provoking. And you're trying to gain that understanding in the moment, and it's happening so fast.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, okay, he meant this. But what if he also meant this,
Yeah.
this, and that? And sometimes you learn that the artist did mean it 4 different ways.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
just
They're
wondering
playing. Yeah.
who's going to figure that out. It's a
Yeah.
puzzle.
And they're playing. Yeah, that's
Yep.
definitely the feeling I've had sometimes when I'm listening to the music. It's I don't really know much about rap music, but you can definitely in some of the things that I've heard, I was thinking, oh, there's play here.
Yeah.
So with the different words.
I think that's one of the big things is rap music. It's had a long history
Hmm.
of misunderstanding.
Yeah.
The art form itself,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of people who are not open to
Hmm.
that form of music. They think of it, it's very vulgar, or
Hmm.
maybe it only means these certain things that people disagree with, and they don't want to hear those subjects discussed.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, the individual who is expressing themselves with that art form is using that art form to really get out the ways
Hmm.
that they feel about life or their
Yeah.
struggles that they've experienced in life. And I'm very receptive to that because that art form is just like any other art form. It's a way of expression.
Hmm.
So while some people don't like country music or maybe rock and roll or heavy metal or
Hmm.
because it's too rash and destructive, that is how they feel.
Hmm.
That's how they feel in those moments, and that's their way to release it. There's many other ways they could release those feelings that would be looked at a lot worse.
Yeah.
So just be appreciative that they're not taking it and
Hmm.
doing those, like extinguishing those emotions by doing something that could change their life forever in a negative way. They're
Hmm.
trying to do it in a positive way with music.
Hmm.
And music, even if one person doesn't agree with it, and that could be the misunderstanding, there is a lot of other people that connect with that form of music because
Hmm.
they understand where that individual is coming
Hmm.
from.
Yeah. Which kind of brings me to my final point about that's the value for me personally about the
Yeah,
reaction videos because I'm not familiar with these different genres, and
yeah.
then it's almost like an on ramp. Somebody gives me a little bit of a clue.
Oh,
It's like,
that's a
oh,
good
I
point.
noticed this and I noticed this. It's a bit of a bridge into that world, and I'm like, oh, now you've got my interest. I might
Yes.
not have responded to the music necessarily, but now you're
Yeah, that's
telling me the
fair.
story and the words,
Hmm.
and like, oh, now I can follow it, but it's almost like I need something to hold on to. Does that make sense?
No, that's perfectly
Yeah,
understandable. It is a way of bridging the gap.
yeah,
Because on a first listen, if it's not for you per se,
yeah,
and you're not used to hearing those sort of things, or maybe a music that's played out a certain way, it's completely fine. And that's understandable. But
yeah,
when someone helps bridge that gap and they're like,
yeah,
wow, there's a lot more layers to this
yeah.
than I
Oh, I
really
love
thought
it.
about. So that is such as like when you're pulling on that piece of string there,
Yeah,
so many other things to be discovered. And I think that is the beauty in understanding is we may have only seen that one piece of string, but
yeah,
once we untangle it,
yeah,
wow, it's a
yeah,
whole new world opened up. And I
yeah,
love doing that. It's like with Ren, I never knew what to expect.
yeah,
But when I dove in, I discovered that he's not just a singer, he's not just a rapper, like he's an actor. It's
yeah.
like he can play multitude of instruments. There's so many layers to him as a person
Hmm.
other than just even musically. It's really like seeing the way that the mind works.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if you were digging into Ren's catalog or anything during the time that the Money Game 3 was releasing.
Nope,
Oh
nope.
my goodness.
No, I
Uh
mean I went rabbit hole. I did
yeah, yeah,
not
yeah.
go. I did not go Ren's material. I went rabbit hole deep into reaction videos, and I was
Understandable.
embarrassed. I was like, "What am I doing here?"
That's
Yeah.
perfectly fine. Yeah, like during the release for Money Game 3, he actually set up a big game
Oh
for the
yes,
whole
I've heard
world.
about it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And that when he's putting together these puzzles and working with his team, like a meeting of the minds,
yeah,
it's like, well, you might think this means that. But
yeah,
no, 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 no. Ren's much smarter than that. So then that you start discovering all of these layers, and you're like,
yeah,
wow, Ren's not just a talented musician. It's like he's kind of a genius. You know,
yeah,
he is a genius. And I believe that like that is even more beautiful than just discovering his music. Is
yeah,
really like learning more about him as a person and
yeah,
why his mind works a certain way, or what led him to think about things a certain way. I love learning that.
yeah, yeah. There's an artist called 1000 on
1000.
YouTube.
Okay.
Do you know 1000? He
No.
does. I'm not going to get this right. Murals, graffiti type of things, but he does
Oh, big displays.
big things. But he
Okay.
also made a deck of cards, and he did this whole puzzles for the fans and everything like that.
I
But it,
like things like
yeah,
that.
so it's just that interaction and that play, and again, that opened up another world to me that I didn't know exist.
Yeah, absolutely. And
So
I
anyway,
think that is, a better connection than music sometimes.
yeah,
It is because we can connect with music to a certain extent, but once the artist themselves starts interacting with the
yeah,
fans and creating something not just in song form for the fans, but something that they want the fans to really
yeah,
engage with
yeah,
and try to figure out. Like it is a beautiful thing for the artist to know that the fans are even
mm,
interested in doing that with them.
yeah.
So I really enjoy things like that.
Yeah. Well, I think also I haven't got like a theme or anything for my channel, but I just kind of put at the top fully self-expressed question mark because
That's
that's what
perfect.
I'm seeing. That's when I see these artists and they say, "Oh, I think I'd like to just make this and create this," rather than just thinking the fans like this, so I'll make more of it. You know, and I think it's quite brave,
Yeah,
but
I
it's
like that.
yeah. But anyway, it's
Self-express.
exploration. Exploration. What's next for you?
Um, anything, everything.
More. More,
Yeah,
more, more.
like the way you're saying the self-expression. It's creative expression for
Yeah.
me. Because there's so many things in life that aren't guaranteed.
Hmm.
And life itself is never guaranteed.
Hmm.
So you really want to try and do as much as you can while you're here.
Hmm.
And that's not necessarily just reaction videos for me. It's
Okay.
because I love art.
Yeah.
Everything in art.
Yeah.
My big thing is finding the art in everything.
Okay.
So that is my search. There's an art in discussion, there's an art in talking,
Hmm.
breathing air. It's there's an art in understanding. It's just like everything in life has an art to it.
Yeah.
And it's finding why is there an art to this? Or how is there an art to this? That really keeps me going. It keeps me intrigued.
Yeah.
Because I do so many things besides reaction videos. Like, even
Yeah.
when, my reactions, of course, that's how the channel started, is a way of expressing what I'm feeling and creating a conversation. There's so many things that I enjoy in life, and I try to put that up on my channel as well.
Okay.
I have several art videos of things
Yeah.
that I've made, whether it be like paintings, drawings.
Yeah. I was going to ask, the paintings behind you, are
Oh
they yours?
yeah,
Are these yours? Yes.
this one here is actually mine.
Yeah.
That's from an anime as well. That's
Okay.
Broly from Dragon Ball Z.
Very good. Yeah.
This is from my girlfriend.
Oh,
This was
okay.
her Halloween painting that she made for me. And then we've got Ren's Sick Boy album. I always
Okay.
keep that right beside me. But I have several other art pieces off camera. Maybe I could grab one real quick.
Yep.
Let me see here. Here, we got two right here. So this was a gift that I created for my girlfriend from her favorite movie, Corpse Bride. Then we've got another gift I created for her.
Oh, I recognize that. Yeah.
Yeah, from another anime.
Yeah.
So, and I do several things, always on like wooden hearts for her.
Yeah.
But it's just, I have like so many creations and videos that I have of me creating these things, and I'm slowly trying to get them all out on the channel. And they're not always as well received or garner the amount of views, but the fact that some of my audience enjoys them is perfectly fine for me. Even if no one viewed the video, I enjoyed creating these pieces. Yeah. And that is what keeps me going, is my enjoyment. Because as much as the fans and the viewers, commenters tell you that they love it, and that all means a lot to me. It really does help at the end of the day, because this could be stressful. You put a lot of pressure on yourself, and then you start getting in your own head, and you're kind of succumbing to the pressure.
Yeah.
So it's tough some days. Like, sometimes I will sit down with the idea that I want to do this video today. I want to do this or do that. But then the pressure gets to me, and then I get really stressed. I'm like, well, I can't turn the camera on right now, because if I do that, I'm not able to give it my all. There's something holding me back. So I try to step away and get a clear head, and that is a big help. Yeah. Because you want to be able to fully absorb what you're doing and enjoy the moment while you're there. And that is life. Enjoying it.
Enjoying it. Anyway, I don't know why I want to call you Blossom. Why do I want to call you Blossom? Anyway, Blossom.
From Powerpuff Girls.
Is it? I don't know why that came up in my head. I don't think I've ever called anybody Blossom before. You said here that you've got Patreon. No, is that right? You've got Patreon?
Oh, Patreon, yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
I do have Patreon, yes.
Yeah, sorry, it's just seeing where it's got that. And you were saying uncut reactions there. Do you do much editing of your reactions, or?
Yes, I am the sole person who does everything on my channel. All the editing, anything, zooms, cuts, you name it, whatever is involved with editing, I do it. And it's kind of difficult, but I try my best. And so Patreon allows me to just get fully unedited everything. Yeah. So in my anime reactions in particular, there will be certain cuts, because you can't really play the whole episode. Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. It's very important because of copyrights and things of that nature. Yeah. But on Patreon, I'm able to just release it in full. I don't have to like really edit anything. Yeah. I just put it on there completely uncut for the viewers' viewing pleasure.
Yeah. I was wondering about putting bloopers on Patreon.
I love that idea. I do have some bloopers as well, so I'm right there with you.
Well, it's just, some people have said to me, oh, I want to do a YouTube channel. And I thought it might be useful for you to know that this is what it looks like.
Yes.
It's not always the edited version. It's behind the scenes.
There's a lot of gag reels and funny moments where you're like, oh my gosh, I can't show this, but wait, can I show this? Because it's natural. Things happen in life.
Yeah, that's happened. Yeah, and then you just stop it, and then you hit again. And then it says here that you're on Twitch as well, where you do the chats on live streams. Is that something you do every week, or?
So I try to do it as many times as I can per week. Some days I stream twice.
Wow.
I have anime streams over there where we can watch it live together, and then they don't have to wait for YouTube. I listen to music over there, and we check out requests from
hanging out
viewers.
There.
Yeah, exactly. So kind of like what we're doing right now, except there's nobody else on a different camera that I'm talking to. It's just they're in the live chat. They're
Yeah.
asking me questions. They're making requests. I play games over there and have fans join me so that we can
Okay.
hop on a call and talk with one another. It just it creates a conversation in a live format, which is what we're doing right now, and I love that because I love
Thank
engagement.
you.
That
Yeah.
that's one of the big things about why I started is
Yeah.
because I have a lot of people that I could have discussions with around me, but they're not really open to talking about music or
Yeah.
art the way that I am.
Yeah.
So they kind of just think I drone on. They're like, "Oh wow, yeah, that's cool. Hey, nice."
Yeah.
But this whole sphere that we're in right now is a way
Yeah.
of traveling for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't necessarily have the money to travel and
Hmm.
go to far distances and meet individuals.
Hmm.
And I love exploring new cultures.
Hmm.
So discovering all of these different forms of music and
Hmm.
art, and then having these individuals from different countries tell me
Yeah.
their experiences or why they love it so much or how
Hmm.
much it means to their culture, that helps
Yeah.
me travel. That is
Yeah.
my form of traveling and meeting them.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. I've lived overseas a few times, and but
Oh,
now
wow.
based in the UK,
Yeah.
and I was surprised by this, that by hearing some of the stories and them geeking out about the people that they love, the music that they love. It was like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm meeting international people again, and I'm learning about that stuff. I didn't expect, like you say, there's so much that you just don't know is
Yeah,
going to happen,
because
but
you're not in those parts of the world. So
yeah.
you would never know that that exists.
Yeah, but also you
Hey.
don't know what's going to happen from doing a little YouTube channel
Oh,
with 100 subscribers, and then 100 subscribers, and then you do high rent. I just think that's so funny that you were saying, "I'm so pleased with my 100 subscribers," and then your world blew up. I think that's so funny.
me too.
But yeah, but look, thank you for agreeing to talk to me,
Absolutely.
and particularly because it was super early days. I think I'd only done like one or two interviews, and you said, I can't do it yet, but I'm there for you. And you booked yourself in. So I really, really appreciate it. And I will be paying it forward to other people that are new as well,
Absolutely.
and doing what I can to help. So thank you.
Thank,
And
thank you as well. I'm very appreciative that you wanted to ask me.
yeah, no, I really
You're
enjoyed
only
it.
my second interview ever.
Oh, right.
So
Okay. You're
yes.
just so natural on. I just felt like when I was listening to I felt like I was talking with a friend. You know, when you watch something with a friend and you interrupt it and you say, "Did you see that? Did you see that?" Yeah, that's what I felt like when I was with you. So it was really
Absolutely.
lovely. What I normally do is say goodbye, and then you and I could say goodbye, sort of in the green room. So thank
Understandable.
you. I shall stop
Thank you
recording.
very much, Joanne.
Bye.